seems like Lent just snuck up on us, didn't it? All of a sudden, it's here. Well, you know, clergy are really funny about Ash Wednesday and Lent. For some, it's their very favorite season of the year. They like the Lenten practices, they like the discipline. They hope against hope that Lent will be as quiet as it was intended to be, and that they may actually be contemplative. But if they're serving a church, they should know better. But they still keep it as their favorite season. And Father Fred and I fall into that group. Then there are those who simply hate Lent. They hate Ash Wednesday, and they hate all the rest of the days that follow until Easter. They're too depressing. They don't want to sing those terrible, sad Lenten hymns. And they had enough penance and penitence in whatever church they grew up in, and they're not going to do it here. Then there's the clergy who get tired of doing the same thing every year, and so they just want to try something new. So let's add glitter to the ashes. And that way everybody will know how special they are. Or maybe as a friend of ours recommended in a column this past week, maybe we should go back to the ancient habit of just sprinkling ashes on the head instead of making the sign of the cross on the forehead. It wouldn't be so obvious that you had been to Ash Wednesday, but when you're a professor that teaches worship, you can suggest those things when you're a parish priest and you're dealing with freshly coiffed hair or white hair or people who are bald. It doesn't go as well as it does in theory. But then there are people, this last group, this fourth group, for whom Ash Wednesday is the worst. Their least favorite, most awful day of the year. And our friend Larry is one of those clergy, and if we ever talk to him right around Ash Wednesday, he's retired, but he will tell you that he is not going to Ash Wednesday services because it violates everything that the gospel says. You know, the gospel says, when you're fasting, don't disfigure your face, wash your face, oil your hair. Don't look like you're being miserable for everybody else to see. And he says, and then we go around with ashes on our head all day, and he just thinks it's terrible. And he's been a priest for over 50 years, and he complains about it every single year. But as much as I love my friend Larry, I think he misses a little bit of the point of why we get ashes on our head, what Ash Wednesday is all about, and what the rest of Lent is all about. Ashes and Lent are not about misery. It's not about being miserable until Easter. But it is about preparing ourselves so that when Easter comes, we are able to feel and experience deep within ourselves the miraculous, incredible joy brought to us by the resurrection of Christ. And that's why we do what we do in Lent. But so many of us forget that. And I get it. It's not a whole lot of fun for most people to do a lot of self-examination. Most of us would rather think that we've never done anything that God's really going to care about. I don't know how to break this to you, but you have. And we have to pay attention to that. Ashes and Lent are about knowing who you are, that you are a creature created by God, but not God. And that as a creature, you are mortal because you were created that way. And you need to understand what mortality means for all of your life. Ash Wednesday, despite the fact that some of those folks are putting glitter in their ashes, does not say you're special. It says you're human. And that all of us, every one of us, will die. Now, you reach a certain age, and it's all too easy to understand that. When you're younger, it's not. But by the time you have buried enough family members, enough friends, maybe even a child, you understand that that is the reality in life. Our mortality is real. And life won't go on as we know it here forever. But I would say this to you, without death, our life would have no meaning. We would have no impulse to do anything with a string of endless tomorrows ahead of us and no judgment. It would just be whatever we felt like when we got up in the morning. But with death, we know that there is an end. Now, when you're 20, 30, 40, it may be hard to believe that that's real. But the older you get, the more real it gets. And the more you understand that every day is valuable. Ashes, from dust you are made, and to dust you will return. Tell you that every single day has meaning, and every single day is a gift for which we should feel gratitude, and for which we should be careful not to waste. Because wasting it means that we can't get it back. But we're one more day ahead. Our task in this life, our task then, and our task in Lent, is to journey into God, to get closer to God, and to reveal the image of God within us with which we were made. And we're to work on that. One of the things about Lent is it gives you the opportunity to look at yourself. Where have you obscured that image in your life? Where have you ignored it? Where have you said, I don't need to worry about carrying the image of God. It doesn't matter. It's not a gift. It's not anything I'm worried about. I am who I am. But I don't have to worry about that. Where have you in your life skipped ahead and tried to be God? Tried to make yourself or your life what you think it should be without any reference to what God's will for you or for God's creation might be? How have you tried to convince yourself that you've never done anything that God would be concerned about or that might have separated you from God? Those are the questions we ask ourselves at Lent. And those are the questions that when we have answered them and spent some time with them, enable us to come to Easter morning and realize that the promise of resurrection and the promise of new life has been handed to us too. That there's joy in that morning for us, just as much as there was joy in that morning for Christ's disciples when they found the empty tomb. That's why we observe Lent. And contrary to my dear friend Larry, your ashes are not a sign of pride. This is the one day of the year when, if you've come here, you are likely to openly and publicly witness to your faith because of a black mark on your forehead, where you have marked yourself as broken and as a child of God, and where you have said, I remember I am mortal, and I am part of God's creation. I am not God. The ashes are humility. They are the one time when we say, help me, Lord, for I am not perfect, and I am not whole. Now I'm going to make suggestion that you do 3 things for this Lent. Just 3. All right, 4. First, give up something that distracts you from being holy yourself. Okay. Give up something that distracts you from being holy yourself and present in the world. For some of you who are older, it might be binging a Netflix series. For some of you who are younger, it might be this, through Instagram and Facebook. But give up something that keeps you from being wholly present and wholly yourself. You'll know what that is. Second, pick a virtue to develop, to consciously work on for these next 6 weeks. What virtue is weak in your life? Is it gratitude? Is it courage? Is it faithfulness? Pick a virtue and work on that virtue. Work on doing whatever it is. If it's courage, what makes you afraid? What are you scared to do? What don't you like to do? Work on doing those things so that you can develop courage. If it's gratitude, if you tend to take the people in your life for granted, if you tend to take the blessings that God bestows upon you, spend part of every day reminding yourself how wonderful those people are and how blessed you have been. It's not hard, but think about what virtue you want to develop for the next 6 weeks. Third, pick a habit of your heart that you want to diminish in your life. We all have habits of our hearts that control us in one way or another. It might be that you have a habit of the heart that you want to keep everything precious, whatever is precious to yourself, in a pile close to you, and hold on to it and never let go and never share it. That's a definition of avarice, and it goes way beyond just accumulating money. Maybe it's anger. Maybe it's that you walk around sort of seething and conducting arguments in your head all the time and figuring out what it is that really irritates you about the people in the world around you. Maybe it's sloth. Maybe it's just not getting up the energy to do anything, to complete a project, to get out of your own way. I don't know what your habit of the heart is. Everyone has one. Pick that habit of the heart, identify it, and spend the next 6 weeks trying to make it smaller in your life by living in a way that counters it. And here's the fourth thing. Every day, try and be just a little better than you were the day before. Try to be just a little kinder, a little more virtuous, a little less driven by a habit of the heart that doesn't help you live in the world. Just every day, just that much. Because in 6 weeks, come Easter, you'll be a new person. You'll be different. So 4 things. Give up something that distracts you from being wholly yourself and wholly present. Pick a virtue to develop. Try and do the things that help you develop that virtue instead of abandoning it. Pick a habit of the heart that you want to diminish in your life. And 4th, try every day to be just a little better than you were yesterday. And you will become a new person. And you will become something closer to revealing the image of God with which you were endowed and which you carry with you every single day. That's what the ashes are about. They're the mark of a beginning, a mark of saying, I know who I am, I know whose I am, and I know where I'm going. It's really not about our pride, and it's not really about our showing off. It's about being what God created us to be. And I invite you, my brothers and sisters, to a holy Lent. Amen.